Our next guest is fighting the good fight under difficult conditions in Washington. He is a U.S. Senator from the great state of California. Please welcome Adam Schiff. I want to warn you in advance, these people are humorless scolds. So. What did you do today? You're here back home. What are you up to?
I got a survey of some of the recovery efforts in the burn areas. So I was in Altadena looking at the cleanup operations, which are going quickly, which is good news.
Will we get help from the federal government, or do we not get that because he doesn't like us?
We will get help. We will get help. But it is alarming that they're talking about, for the first time ever, trying to condition relief after a natural disaster on completely unrelated things. But we're pushing back hard. And in my conversations with my Republican colleagues, I'm reasonably optimistic that they will drop that idea. We just saw some storms hit other parts of the country, different colored states. We don't want to get into a practice where you discriminate on natural disasters, whether hitting red states or blue. We're all in this together. And I was pleased to see that we're ahead of schedule with the cleanup. The job is a big job, but Army Corps is doing remarkable work.
This idea of that I've been hearing about is speeding up like the building permits here in California to rebuild faster. Why don't we do that all the time?
We should do that all the time. And I think actually the path back to power for the Democratic Party is to show that we can get done again. This really has to be our focus. We need to be able to build housing quickly and cost effectively. We need to build more hospitals and schools. We need to make it clear that we're the party of getting things done. They're clearly the party of tearing things down. And we've lost some of that. And I think the chance to respond well to these fires is a real good test case for us. We damn well better pass the test, but we ought to show we can get this done quickly. We can move with urgency.
Did you thank President Trump for all the water, for the spigot that he turned to send all that water down the state?
Thank you was not exactly the two words. One of the two was the same.
Are you ever, or at this point, are you surprised by anything?
I am surprised just how quickly they have created a climate of fear. I wouldn't have thought it possible, but by going after universities, they're intimidating other universities. By going after certain press organizations, they're causing others to self-censor. By going after certain law firms, they're causing other lawyers to not want to take cases if they think it will be retaliated against by the administration. Companies, towing a Trumpian line because they're worried about losing government contracts. I would not have thought it possible to so quickly create that climate of fear. And we have to band together. We have to speak out. We have to push back. We have to show courage. The dictator wannabes, this is part of their playbook. And the only way to defeat it is by standing strong and saying, basically, screw you, I won't be intimidated.
Today they seem to have cut hundreds of millions of dollars in money that was supposed to go to food banks for school lunches and for people who are hungry. What is the thinking behind that? Like, why?
Part of it is, really the main thrust of it is they want to make all these cuts so they can take the money that they're supposedly saving and plow it into a tax cut for big corporations and wealthy people. That's sort of the central animating purpose of the Elon Musk and Donald Trumps and their crowd. But there's also a certain arsonist glee about watching things burn. So part of this, I think the cruelty is not an accident. I think part of it, the cruelty, is the objective. And this is what's going to bring them down. The corruption will bring them down. The cruelty will bring them down. This is not who we are as a country. But in addition to, their own self-defeating internal ugly politics, the Democratic Party needs to get its act together. We need to have an affirmative case we're making, and we need to answer the question that so many millions of Americans are asking, which is, if you're working hard in this country, can you still earn a good living for yourself and your family? We need to be able to answer that central question. I think the key to it is by getting things done again and moving the country forward. We can't be reliant on them to self-destruct, although they will. We have to offer something positive.
And when you say that, I think that's what Chuck Schumer said he is kind of relying on, for them to self-destruct. And there are a lot of people who are asking, what are you doing? What are the Democrats doing? What's the plan? Well, I'm wondering also, what is, I can't understand Trump's plan, because it almost seems like he's intentionally tanking the economy. Is it possible that he actually is doing that?
Well, if you look at what he's doing, you could reasonably reach that conclusion.
Okay, let me ask it in a different way. Is it possible that that's what he is intending to do?
I don't think that's what he's intending, but the haphazard nature, for example, of these tariffs, the on-again, off-again tariffs, are just so destructive. And I think what businesses will tell you, we're innovative, we're entrepreneurial, we can deal with difficult things, but we need certainty. Just tell us what it's going to be. Is it going to be on? Is it going to be off? Let us plan. And they're not getting any of that ability to plan. And of course, we're alienating our closest allies, the Canadians. I mean, if you're going to pick a fight, really going to pick a fight with the Canadians? I mean, what did they ever do to us?
I don't know.
They're like the nicest people.
Maybe it's a message just to everyone to watch out. I mean, look at what we did to Canadians. You can't relax. I mean, watch it, Ireland. You know what I'm saying? As far as the Democratic Party goes, there's, of course, last week, and there's a rift in the party. And it seems like there is, to a certain extent, young versus old, although that's not it doesn't exactly run that way. Chuck Schumer said, hey, we needed to keep the government open. And so that's why he and, some Democrats voted with the Republicans. You voted against that. Explain that. Why is he wrong on that?
Well, we know what we would get and will get with this 6 months of autopilot for the federal government. Basically, continuing resolution is a fancy name for autopilot. You basically continue funding the government the same way you've been doing for the last several months. The problem is they're tearing everything down. They're violating the law. They're withholding funding for vital services. They're going after Medicaid. So giving them 6 more months of running room seems to me a terrible thing to do. Now, I get that people are worried about, well, what's the alternative? Maybe they really want to shut down the government. And for me, the certainty of knowing what the next 6 months would look like, I will trade that for the uncertainty if they end up shutting down the government. But I will tell you this one thing I think is certain, and that is we cannot be divided in the minority. The only way we're going to stop bad stuff from happening in the Democratic Party is if we are absolutely united and speaking with one voice. We need to fight. They are not going to give up power willingly. No one ever gives up power willingly. We are going to have to get it by fighting. And we had an opportunity to fight last week, and we should have taken it.
How do you handle a situation where you have judges, federal judges, ruling against the Trump administration, their decisions, and they're just ignoring it? And I mean, is there anything that can be done about that?
Well, the judges are going to need to get tough. How
do you get tough against someone who the Supreme Court said is immune to prosecution?
Well, the lower courts are going to need to say and be willing to say, you're in contempt. We're going to hold you personally responsible. We're going to fine you personally. They're going to need to insist on their orders being followed, and ultimately that will go to the Supreme Court. You saw Justice Roberts issue his comments when Trump called for the impeachment of this lower court judge, saying, no, we don't impeach judges who write opinions we don't like. Look, I'm glad Roberts said that, but the way I look at it, Roberts, in this shameful decision, gave the president immunity said you can commit crimes in office and you'll be immune. Justice Sotomayor described that as a loaded gun, that immunity like a loaded gun waiting to be used. And so now Roberts is saying, I gave him a loaded gun. Look out, he might use the gun. They, as you point out, they gave the president the belief that he could violate the law with impunity. And unless the court just wants to go home and make themselves irrelevant, they're going to need to insist on the law being followed and their court opinions being followed. Otherwise, they may just well go home. A lot of my Republican colleagues might as well just go home because they're content to cede power to the president. But I'm not going home.
Now, Elon Musk just donated the maximum amount allowable to those Republicans who said they would support the impeachment of this judge in particular. And that seems, I mean, it's just crazy that that's allowed. And I guess it is allowed because that's what the Supreme Court decided. But what can we do about that? I mean, is there anything that regular Americans, I know that you're doing what you can, is there anything that we can do about that?
Well, I think what ordinary Americans can do is, those people that Elon Musk chose to support because they're calling for the impeachment of the judge or adhering to his kind of right-wing ideology, at a grassroots level, we can support their opponents. We can offset what Elon puts into campaigns with an outpouring of grassroots support for people on the other side. I would much rather rely on the grassroots donors of the world than the billionaires like Elon Musk. And by the way, 2 days ago, I was in the loneliest place on earth.
What?
I was in Berkeley, California, walking past a Tesla dealership.
Oh, really?
It was
up there.
It was
sure, yeah.
so empty in that store. It was like a vacuum in there.
I thought you meant Elon Musk's heart. I thought that's what you were talking about. So yeah, okay. So we have to support those people. We have to identify those people. It just all feels so frustrating. There feels like there's so much energy needs to be expended just to keep these jackals at bay. And Donald Trump, you've met with Donald Trump. I know that. I think we talked about that the last time you were here. Do you know Elon Musk? Have you met with him?
I have met him before. A long time ago when he was sane.
Was he sane then? Or?
He was sane. I mean, he was kind of an erratic genius. He's now an erratic, evil, not-so-genius. And, there's all that speculation that he kind of turned because he didn't get invited to the White House for a meeting of electric car makers under the last administration. I don't know whether that's true, but if it is true, what does that say about you, that you're going to change your whole worldview because you got snubbed from an invitation?
What does it say about those dopes who didn't invite him to the meeting of electric car makers? I mean, he's making more electric cars than anybody in North America.
That is true.
Yeah, that wasn't smart
either. Not anymore, though.
Not anymore, you're right. Donald Trump, talks about you a lot. And when we put this together, think of this as kind of like, when's your birthday?
June 22nd.
Okay, an early gift.
Adam Shifty Schiff is a truly bad guy. He's a crooked guy. Adam Shifty Schiff. He's a sleazebag. What a sleazebag that guy is. Total sleazebag. Horrible human being. Major lowlife. Truly bad guy. What a liar.
Looks like he got hit with a baseball bat or something. What happened to him?
His neck is like so small.
Pencil neck. Pencil neck.
Pencil neck, Adam Schiff. And how that neck can hold up that big, oversized, ugly head.
That fat, ugly face.
So I said watermelon head. I call him watermelon head.
He's calling you a water... Well, first of all, your neck, I'm looking at it. And do people look at it now?
Let me tell you, a watermelon head on a pencil neck is a pretty tough balancing act.
Your neck size seems very normal to me,
I'm getting the impression he doesn't like me very much.
Yeah, he doesn't.
But, I'm a good Democrat, so my view, of course, is when they go low, we go high, he can go
I want to ask you about one more thing, if you don't mind. You served on the House Intelligence Committee. We know that. And Vladimir Putin, how does he play Trump, presuming that is an accurate statement? How does he do it?
So we, like other countries, do psychological analyses of foreign leaders to figure out how do we approach them in negotiations, what are they likely to do under certain circumstances. I can only imagine the briefing paper that Putin got on Donald Trump. First of all, you can include all you need to know on a little card, which would probably read, just say nice things about the moron and he'll do anything you want. Because Putin has these nice things to say about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump is, fond of repeating, he says nice things about me. And he's ready to give Russia and Putin and the Kremlin Ukraine on a platter. And I'll tell you, it is just so heartbreaking. Ukrainians have fought with such courage, such valor. They've suffered such terrible casualties from this Russian madman and his invasion. And the idea that the United States of America would turn our back on Ukraine is just so shameful.
The idea that these Republican senators, congresspeople are siding with Russia while they side with Donald Trump is mind-boggling, really. I remember a time when people would come here and they'd always tell me, like, when I talk to my Republican colleagues in the Senate and the House, whatever, we have private conversation, which they say, oh, this guy's crazy, we don't want him around, we don't agree with anything he says. Is that still the prevailing sentiment in the Senate where you are now?
Certainly on things like Ukraine, a lot of Republican senators will tell you how supportive they are, how they want to make sure we have Ukraine's back, but they're scared. They don't want a MAGA primary challenge. What is really missing, and I was talking to some of my Democratic Senate colleagues about this, what is really missing is a John McCain. And I asked the Democratic senators, I said, what would John McCain be doing right now? And they told me John McCain would be taking to the Senate floor every day, and he would be championing Ukraine's cause. He would be shaming his own party for turning its back on Ukraine, and he would relish it. He would relish it. And you can picture him doing that. And we so desperately need a John McCain in the Senate right now.
Yeah, well, thanks for what you're doing. As much as I guess can be done. Senator Adam Schiff, everybody. We appreciate it. I'll be right back with Michael Marchese. Guillermo, do you know how many subscribers we have on YouTube now?
20 million.
That's right. Yeah, that's why we're wearing these glasses. Thanks for being a subscriber. If you're not, help us get to 20,000,001.